Something big just happened in Washington, and most people don't fully understand it yet. Just hours ago, the Supreme Court issued a ruling that is already sending shockwaves through the White House, through Congress, and straight into the lives of millions of Americans, especially seniors, retirees, and anyone living on a fixed income. And now everyone is asking the same question. Is the president's $2,000 check back? I know how that sounds. We've heard promises before. We've seen headlines before. And too many times, hope turned into disappointment. So before you get too excited, stay with me because this ruling does not mean money is being sent out tomorrow. But it does mean something very important just changed behind the scenes. For many Americans, the idea of another direct payment felt dead, buried, off the table forever. Rising prices, higher rent, more expensive groceries, prescription costs that never seem to stop climbing. And all the while, your Social Security check stays the same month after month. So when people saw the words Supreme Court just ruled, it immediately sparked both fear and hope. Some people are saying this decision forces a $2,000 payment. Others are saying it blocks payments forever. Both of those claims are wrong. Here's the truth. The Supreme Court did not vote on a stimulus check. They did not approve a payment, and they did not reject one either. What they ruled on is something much bigger and much more powerful. They ruled on presidential authority, specifically how much power a president has to act during national and economic emergencies, and how far that power can go when Congress is divided, delayed, or silent. And this is exactly why financial experts, Social Security policy watchers, and even former Treasury officials are suddenly paying very close attention. Because this ruling quietly reopens a door that many believed was permanently locked. Now, I want you to hear this clearly. This does not guarantee a $2,000 check. No date has been announced. No payment schedule has been released. But this ruling changes what is legally possible. And when the Supreme Court shifts what's possible, Washington responds, right now, behind closed doors, advisors are running numbers, lawyers are reviewing executive powers, and agencies are preparing for multiple scenarios, just in case. And here's why this matters to you. If you're on Social Security, if you receive SSI or SSDI, if you're a senior struggling with higher costs, or if you missed out on past relief because of income rules or timing, this moment could affect you more than you think. But before you celebrate, you need to understand exactly what the court decided and what it did not decide, because the headlines don't tell the full story. And what happens next will surprise you. Let's slow this down and talk about what the Supreme Court actually ruled on, because this is where most of the confusion is coming from. The case that reached the Supreme Court was not called a stimulus case. It did not mention $2,000 checks in the title, and it did not directly involve Social Security, SSI, or SSDI payments. But make no mistake, the outcome reaches far beyond this one case. At the center of the case was a question that Washington has been arguing about for years. How much power does a president really have when the country faces an economic emergency? Can a president authorize or revive large-scale federal payments if Congress is slow, divided, or unwilling to act? Or does every dollar have to go through a long, messy political process first? This case started when a group of lawmakers and state officials challenged a previous executive action tied to emergency economic relief. They argued that the president overstepped his authority by directing federal agencies to prepare and move funds without a brand new vote from Congress. Lower courts were split. Some judges said the president went too far. Others said the Constitution allows broader emergency powers during national crisis. That split is exactly why the Supreme Court stepped in. And when the decision came down, it was close. A narrow majority of justices ruled that the president does in fact have limited but real authority to act during extraordinary economic conditions, especially when Congress has already authorized emergency funding frameworks in the past. That phrase matters. Authorized emergency funding frameworks. In simple terms, the court said this. If Congress has already created the legal structure for emergency relief, the president may have room to act within that structure, without starting from scratch. That does not mean unlimited power. It does not mean blank checks. And it definitely does not mean automatic payments, but it does mean the president is not completely blocked. The court also made something else very clear. Agencies like the Treasury Department and the Social Security Administration can be instructed to prepare payment systems in advance, even before Congress finalizes every detail, as long as those systems stay within existing law. That single point is why this ruling is causing such intense reaction. Because during past stimulus programs, the hardest part was not passing the idea. It was building the system fast enough to deliver money. Now here's where things get interesting. Several justices wrote separate opinions warning Congress. They essentially said that if lawmakers fail to act during economic stress, responsibility may shift and executive action becomes more likely. That language was not accidental. Policy experts are reading it as a message. Act or someone else will. This ruling does not order the president to send checks. It does not force Congress to approve $2,000 payments, but it removes a major legal barrier that existed before. That's why, within hours of the decision, reporters confirmed that White House economic advisors were meeting with Treasury officials, not to announce payments, but to explore options. And this is also why you're suddenly seeing trusted financial analysts say things like, direct relief is back on the table. Not guaranteed, but possible. So when you hear people online saying the Supreme Court approved $2,000 checks, that's not true. And when others say the court killed stimulus forever, that's also not true. The truth sits in the middle. The rules just changed. And when the rules change in Washington, the next move matters more than ever, because now the real question is no longer is it legal? The real question is who would actually qualify and how much could they receive? Now, this is the part you need to listen to very carefully, because even if direct payments return, not everyone would receive the same amount, and some people may not receive anything at all. This is where expectations matter. If you're imagining every American automatically getting a $2,000 check, that is very unlikely. That's not how relief programs work anymore. Any payment that comes back would almost certainly be targeted, and that means eligibility rules. Let's talk about who would be first in line. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, you would be at the top of the list. Why? Because your income is already verified, your information is on file, and the payment system already exists. The same applies to SSI recipients. People on supplemental security income are considered the most financially vulnerable. That makes them a priority group. SSDI recipients would also be included, especially those who cannot return to work and rely entirely on monthly benefits. Veterans receiving VA benefits often go through similar federal systems and are frequently included in relief programs, even when others are delayed. Low-income seniors who don't yet receive Social Security but get other federal assistance could also qualify under expanded rules. Now, let's talk about limits. Income thresholds would matter. If your annual income is above a certain level, your payment could be reduced or eliminated. This could resemble past programs where higher earners received partial payments, or nothing at all. Age might also play a role. Seniors over a certain age could be prioritized. Households with disabilities could be prioritized. People who missed previous payments due to filing or timing issues might be reconsidered. But before you panic, listen closely. If you're already receiving federal benefits, you would likely not need to apply. That's right. Just like previous relief programs, payments would be issued automatically using existing records. That's why scammers are already preparing. Here's your warning. If anyone calls, texts, or emails you asking for your Social Security number, your bank details, or a processing fee to release a payment, that is a scam. No real federal payment works that way. Now, Let's talk about timing. Even if action begins quickly, checks would not appear overnight. The process includes internal approval system preparation, official announcements, distribution. This can take weeks, sometimes months. And here's another reality. If payments return, they may not be exactly $2,000. That number is symbolic, it's political, it's emotional. But the actual amount could vary based on budget pressures and public response. Some may receive the full amount, others may receive less. Some may receive credits instead of cash. Here's the most important thing I want you to understand. This ruling did not create money, it created opportunity. And opportunity in Washington is dangerous if you don't pay attention. Because while some groups may benefit, others could be quietly left out. Assuming nothing will happen is just as risky as assuming everything is guaranteed. The people who pay attention early are the ones who are prepared. Now that you understand who could benefit and who might not, the final question becomes, what happens next? What is the White House likely to do? What could Congress try to block or delay? And what should you be watching for? Let's talk about what happens next, because this determines whether anything actually reaches your bank account. After a ruling like this, the public usually hears nothing for a while, and that silence makes people nervous. But in Washington, silence often means preparation. Right now, the White House has a few possible paths. Executive action, carefully designed to stay within what the court just allowed. This could mean agencies begin preparing systems and identifying eligible groups before any public announcement. Political pressure. This ruling gives the president leverage. Congress may now face pressure to negotiate rather than stall, especially with voters watching closely. Agency action, Treasury, and the Social Security Administration don't wait for headlines. They prepare quietly. Systems are tested, databases updated, payment pathways reviewed. Often, the machinery is moving before the public hears a word. Now, here's what you should do. Do not make financial decisions based on rumors. Do not borrow money expecting a check. Do not give personal information to anyone promising early access. Watch for official signals, not viral posts, not comment sections. Protect your benefits. This ruling does not cut Social Security, SSI, or SSDI. In fact, it reinforces the importance of federal benefit systems because those systems are the fastest way relief can reach people. Let me say this clearly. Even if no payment comes from this ruling, something still changed. The conversation shifted. The idea of direct relief is no longer legally impossible. It is no longer dismissed outright. It is back in serious discussion. That matters because when economic pressure grows, leaders reach for the tools they know they can legally use. And now they have one more tool available. So stay calm, stay informed. Don't let fear or hype control your decisions. If relief returns, you deserve to understand it clearly, without confusion, without panic, and without false promises. Knowledge is your strongest safety net. You're not alone in this. We'll watch every move. 3,